Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Sorry for keeping you guys waiting. Wow, we got 44 people here for the start. Hello. Sorry about that. I was just finishing doing something and I wanted to finish it before I came on here. I was updating HDZero on the T16S. And I was installing a Lua script that I wanted to show you guys. And actually, it's nothing new. It's the one JB showed. But I've been playing with it today, and I'm actually really, really impressed. So anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Sunday once again, and it is time for another live stream. Now, tonight, there is a lot to talk about. There's been a lot of news this week. There's also been a lot... I've had a bad week. I've had a really, really weird week. Everything I have touched this week has gone not only wrong, but pretty horribly wrong as well. And it's not one thing. It's not just the Skyzone thing. It has been a number of things have bitten me on the bottom this week. But that is how it goes. Onwards and upwards, as they say. Otherwise, I will be crying into my pillow for the rest of the month. But anyways, tonight we've got a lot to talk about, but as always, guys, we're here to answer your questions as well. And when I say we, it's the royal we. It's me on my own, but it is you guys as well. It is everyone in the chat. Now, to catch up, I can see the guys are that way. I can never get the camera angle right whenever I do this. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm going to get down the list now. Good evening, good evening, good evening. KPV, hello, my friend. Temanik, message retracted. Hello. Ken, John, Neek, Mike, Kilbree, how are you, my friends? Free Range Chicken FPV, hello, hello, hello. Isaac, Steve Mann, Dylan, GMI, hello, GMI. Robert Nielsen, how are you? Floor Flyer, good evening, Floor. Steve, South Wales Jones, Jones, Dave, did you get your drone back? Please tell me they gave it to you. Thank you for the loan. Dave's loaned me 2 Autels. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have a major chance to put a lot of content together on the second one, but Dave was the person that lent us the Autel Evo Nano Plus, and I got to play with his Autel 2 Pro 2. I can never say the bloody words. Evo 2 Pro as well. Good evening, Ricardo. Vityfly, how are you? Bobby Bags, hello, hello, hello. Yes, mate, good. I'm glad you got it, mate. Oh, all safe and well, I hope. All safe and well. So, as I've said, it's been a bit of a bad week for me, but I've done a lot of flying this week. I've been off. I've not been working this week. We'll talk a bit about that. I haven't put anything in the headline about that, but we'll talk a little bit. There really isn't any news. I've done a lot of flying. Not as much as I wanted to, but I have had a lot of time on the sticks this week, which has been good for not only me, but I've been trying to get some little stuff finished. I had massive plans this week to get the wing done as well, the AR Pro, and that has been one of the things that everything I've touched on that this week has gone to total crap. And this should be something that's very, very simple, but I ended up having a problem with the Maytech flight controller, and rather than just going, enough, bin it, spend 70 quid and order a new one, I lost half the week trying to repair it. And I have actually got somewhere with it. I haven't got to where I wanted to, but I have actually got somewhere with it. And it's working, but I've had to use an external OSD. But we'll talk about that as we move through as well. Now, as always, guys, we are open to your questions. So if you do have any questions, please do put them in the comment section. I will try and answer them as long as I see them. If I don't see it, give me a poke. If you want to get your questions seen for sure, you can use the super chat function. Yes, I've just smoothly slid that in there. If you want to support the channel as well, there are links in the description, as well as a link to my Discord server, which is free, if you want to join it. And by me saying free, that is not a dig at anyone who charges you to go on their Discord. I fully endorse paying to go on people's Discords. I just made it free because no one was going on mine. that's the basic reason for it. That's as simple as that. But how has your week been? I hope it's been better than mine. Now, The first subject we're going to kick off with today, and I've just realised I've probably got something turned off, so let me just do something before I go into it, but I'm going to have to change scenes. So I'm going to change scenes a minute because I don't think I got the camera turned on for it. See? No, I haven't. Now, is it going to work? Let's just find it. Where's it gone? Why can't I see it? Sorry, I'm having to look across. I'm looking for NVIDIA broadcast. Should be that one there. Hey! Right, sorry, I forgot I turned that off for a recording the other day, and I forgot to turn it back on. I meant to do it before the stream started. What's the Skyzone news? The Skyzone news we'll come on to in a minute, which was the mess I created around Skyzone this week. And I have put a video out on it if you've seen that, but we'll get some news out the way first of all, because these are quite big subjects. So, let's start with a clean image. So, the first bit of news we are going to talk about this week is HDZero, because there are two big things that have happened in the HDZero world this week. If I hop over to the desktop, the first bit of news that we have from HDZero is this: a third-party VTX from Foxeer. Now, this is what I would class the first proper third-party VTX for HDZero. Yes, Fat Shark had VTXs labeled Fat Shark, but let's be honest, they were manufactured by HDZero, not Fat Shark. However, this, as I understand it, is the first to be manufactured by a third party, and that is Foxeer. Now, Foxeer have already had a toe dip into HDZero with the DigiSight 3, but now they are coming in with their first VTX. Now, we don't have a lot of details on this, but the basics are, from what we can see, it is a Foxeer version of the Race version 2, which is going to be a 200 milliwatt model. In many ways, it looks very, very similar. I'm sure the term that would be fair to use here is it's based off a reference design, but there are some subtle differences. We don't know pricing, but what is good about it is the start of other manufacturers being on board. If we look here, there has been some areas identified. Ryan identified a few areas where there are some differences. Nothing major, nothing fantastic, but there are a few differences to be had between the HDZero and the Foxeer one. Now, right now, we don't have pricing. We don't know how much this new VTX is going to cost. We don't know any real further details than that, but I think it's fair to say it's going to be a 200 milliwatt, and it will probably help take the pressure off HDZero a little bit, because this ties in very, very nicely to the statement that Carl has put out today. And this isn't the first time he said this, and this is the other bit of major news, and that is that Carl intends to open source the HDZero software. Now, it should be clear that this isn't the design of the ASIC. That is proprietary HDZero technology. But what they're going to open source is the software. We don't know how much of it, but the software that goes with that ASIC and how you would build the firmware for a HDZero VTX, possibly VRX as well. There's not major details, but he is looking to do it. Now, this really does tie in to what Carl has said in the past, where he wants to be a chipset provider and not just a company selling products to FPV. In fact, FPV is only going to be one little part of their business, and they want this to expand from there. So this is probably the beginnings of Carl trying to push that boat out to sea and let the system swim for itself. Now, Carl goes on to say he's greatly benefited from open source in his career, and he wants to give back to the open source community so it will grow and thrive with the contribution of others. Now, this is really big news. This is major, major news. We're going to have to see how it goes. But the reality is it does open the doors for a lot of nice things around HDZero. Now, open source isn't going to solve every problem. people will be sitting here going, oh my God, this is the greatest thing in the world. It is very, very good, but don't think for 1 minute open source is the perfect answer to every problem. There are issues with open source in itself, and we see that in all of the very good open source projects that we have, including not so much in Betaflight because things are a bit different there, but mostly ArdraPilot at times, but ExpressLRS especially. Because what you tend to get with the open source is manufacturers, and a name has already been mentioned, which I'll come on to in a minute, manufacturers sort of rush ahead and do stuff and then say to the developers, oh, can you add this support in the official builds? And what can happen, and this has happened more than once, is a product is announced, released to the public with a custom fork of the project, and it doesn't get official support for some time. Now, that isn't the fault of the developers. That is the fault of the companies not working with the ExpressLRS dev team. A classic example of the ExpressLRS team and manufacturers working well together is RadioMaster. And RadioMaster is a very good sort of use case for how, or case study for how it can be done well. Take the Zorro. The Zorro out the door had all the backing of the ExpressLRS devs. It had full support on day one. It was in official firmware on day one. All was well. Whereas we've had issues, and Beta FPV has been mentioned, and I will say them. They have released products with their own custom fork of firmware, many of their modules, in fact, and there has been either issues or some time before these have been brought into the official builds, and that is because they haven't been working with the dev team. You know, and this is the problem with open source, that people can take it, tweak it, and say, oh, can you put this in the master? But that might not happen yet. And actually, that is a sort of problem that's going on with these. And we will talk about TBS, because I want to talk about TBS, because I have said, are they falling behind? And that's not because of one thing. That's a number of things I want to talk about. And I do just want to address that a little bit as well. But you do have to be careful. So open source in itself isn't the perfect solution, but it does bring a lot of interesting options. So it's really good to see HDZero moving forward. We're seeing so much. I've heard some things I can't talk about, but there's someone else who's very interested in coming on board. I've heard of another VTX being worked on. The goggles are around the corner, and I have very high hopes for the new VRX as well. And actually, I'll share this with you guys in a minute. I need to find the video on it. Let me go on YouTube. I'm really actually impressed with one feature on the new VRX more than I thought I would be, and that is the local audio recording, because Ryan has posted a video today demonstrating it. He did a video a couple of days ago where there was quite a lot of noise, but he's done now just a raw video, and it sounds really handy and good, and I like it. And actually, that could be a big difference for many people, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. So the news on it is really good. It really is. Let me just find this video as well. HDZero is really pushing forward. We're seeing a lot more momentum, a lot more from them. I think it's all great. I think it's all very good right now. I did put out a video earlier this week talking about the sales numbers of HDZero, sort of contradicting what might have been said by a certain manufacturer. That video has been taken two different ways. Some people have said, well, he's just making more stuff up, and some people have said, oh, that makes sense. I can't tell you where that info came from, okay? But what I can promise you in that is that info, as far as I'm concerned, is 100% legit. Now, I'm not going to say, but you guys think about where would that info have to come from at that detailed level, and I'll leave it as that. But sometimes things can't go on record. That's what I'm going to say. Sometimes things can't go on record. But that's the interesting one. So HDZero is looking really good. Now, I just want to quickly show you guys this audio. Will HDZero fix the latency on the OSD telemetry? That is a complex one. I don't find the latency on the OSD particularly bad. The problem you have to take into account is that data is being transmitted as a data stream alongside video, and it will always take less priority than video. And there are times that the system has to prioritize video over the OSD data, and that's where it kicks in. The problem you'll have is if you prioritize the OSD data more, then you're going to have to deprioritize video. There is no perfect solution here. That's the thing to understand with that OSD. You're transmitting data across that link, and something has to take priority over something else. And what would you rather, the OSD delay or the image breakup more? And that's the payoff you have here. There's no magical solution to this. There is a delay involved. Now, that isn't to say things can't be tweaked. I'd be interested to know what specific delay. I haven't seen nothing terrible. It's not very big, but it's still growing. It's still growing. Now, I'm going to put this on. Let me just find this. This is Ryan's video. So let me just put the desktop on. Let me just make sure I've got desktop audio. Where is it? So I'm trying to find my microphone on which monitor I'm on. Woohoo! Which one is that one? I can't see from here. No, we don't want that one. Unhide all. Let me just find the right one. That one there. Okay, what I'm going to do is mute my mic if you guys can tell me if you can hear this. No, I can see it's not working. I'm trying to look on OBS to find out which one it is. 2 seconds. I'm just going to play it again.
Laps in 32.02. Full center 2 laps in 37.49.
Right, I've got it now. So, I'm going to play it. Here we go.
Full shot front 2.3.
Wind definitely died down a bit. Whoa, tight. Oh.
Cover 1 lap in 14.94. Shift 1 lap in 16.94. Front 1 lap in 19.93. Neck twist 1 lap in 20.32. Cover 2 laps in 29.84. Shift 2 laps in 32.02. Full center 2 laps in 37.49. Neck twist 2 laps in 39.61. Cover 3 laps in 44.62. Shift 3 laps in 47.02. Nets 1 lap in 39.14. 60.0 seconds remaining. Shift 3 laps in 44.2. Neck twist 3 laps in 59.32.
It sounds pretty good. I'm quite impressed, I'll be honest.
Shift 3 laps in 44.69.
I'm just trying to see if he talks.
Cover 3 laps in 49.11. 30.0 seconds remaining. Nets 2 laps in 71.98. Shift 3 laps in 44.66. Cover 3 laps in 47.66. Next twist 3 laps in 82.7. 10.0 seconds remaining. Finish 3 laps in 102. Please land. Finish your lap and then land. Cover finished 3 laps in 41.4. Please land. Neck twist finished 3 laps in 84.6.
It sounds pretty good. I don't know if there was any processing on that. Let me just make sure I turn desktop audio back off. I don't know if there's any processing on that. I'm not aware. Let me just have a look what Ryan said in the. He does. I thought he said it was raw audio. The thing is, out and about, the fan may be far less of an issue because you're not, you're not getting no other noise. So the fan could be much, much less. It might be processed. Either way, even if that is processed, I am more than happy with that. I really, really am more than happy with that. That is quite impressive. That really is. That is pretty good indeed. That's pretty good indeed. It's interesting to see how it goes, and it is the one feature that I do wish I had now. And it's possibly the one thing that might make me upgrade to the next module. I'm hoping to get my hands on one. No, I haven't done the Skyzone update yet. I've done a video on that, but I'll talk about Skyzone in a minute. So that's it. So that's the score with HDZero. They are open sourcing their software, which is good news. We have more VTXs coming, more cameras coming, I've heard as well. There is lots and lots going on. It's all really good. It's all fantastic right now. As I said earlier, guys, if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat, and I'll try to answer them when I can. Please do give us a like as well if you like what you're seeing. The next thing I want to quickly talk about, as I was talking about open source projects, is this. A new radio from Beta FPV. Now, Beta FPV have released the Light Radio 3 Pro. Now, I've got quite mixed feelings about this because it looks to be an interesting radio. I've got the Light Radio. I don't think it's the Light Radio 2. 1 second. I think this is the 1. I think it's the 1, not the 2. The Light Radio 3 Pro, built-in options, Express LRS or multiples. Light Radio transmitter, open source radio, little OLED screen, which I do like. It's okay. I do think that's quite cool. I like that little idea. I wish that folded. It'd be quite good if that folded. RF power output and Express LRS up to 500 milliwatts, which is high for Express LRS on the Light Radio 3 Pro. There is going to be a Light Radio 3, which does 100 milliwatts. But the Light Radio 3 Pro is going to do 500 milliwatts. And yeah, look, it looks interesting, but again, and it's going to run HDX, I should say as well. So this thing is pretty, you know, it's on steroids. However, and here's the big but in this. This is a classic example of what I said earlier. We have a radio here that's got upgraded Hall gimbals, tiny, HDX, open source. Look, we've got the logos down here. Yet, as far as I understand it, there's no official support for this product yet. The term that was put on from the devs I've seen on both sides was, yes, we're being sent one or we've been sent one. But this isn't, oh, we've been working with them to get this out the door. I do like this. I think this is very nice. My only concern with this radio is cheap. You know, look, let's not hide from that. Let me get clean. This radio is designed to be cheap and cheerful. It's really hard then to say to someone, right, we're going to make a really expensive version of this radio. And I mean really expensive in the sense of dear compared to what this is, with all of these extra features. Because, look, it isn't the lack of features on this that's the problem. It's been the quality. And the question is that going to be the same on this? Because I think this is the version 1, and the gimbals on this have been playing up a bit as well. Is the quality still going to be the problem? It's, in some ways, the term I've used is you can take an ancient car, you can put leather seats in it, a sunroof, but it's still an old car. Or you can take a Lada and do this, and it's still a Lada. And this is the problem. I'm not going to say it's a bad radio, because I simply don't know. I know someone, Albert Kim's post on the YouTube community tab, a lot missing. Okay, that's interesting. So what, on the Express LRS side of things? Not Express LRS, sorry, on the OpenTX side of things? Let's have a look what Albert Kim has said, shall we? Let's see what he said. Here he goes. Okay. But it's not finished yet. My review sample came with HDZero 266, but I'm not able to update to 2.7. Mine came with a finished Express RS firmware, the internal TX that only goes to 250 milliwatt, not 500, and I'm not able to update an Express RS configurator to add my binding files. I expect customers to be happy with these limitations. Yeah. This is... it's hard to say anything, but we could all see this coming, unfortunately. And this was the comment I was making earlier of a product being announced before it's ready, and then it being left to the devs to say, hey, when are you going to make support for this? And this is a big problem for the open source side of things. The good thing with closed source, so let's just say Express LRS and OpenTX was open to anyone to use for free, but somewhat closed source. So I don't really know all of the GPL licensings, but basically they can't release it without your say-so. You would not have problems like this. The big problem today is all of these projects are having these radios and companies spit stuff at them and say, we want to make this work, we want to make this work, we want to make this work. And the devs are being left to pick up the pieces and find the time to do it. And there is a point where that simply is not going to be possible. And I've got a really interesting bit on this. I was going to talk about at the end of this show tonight, actually, on the amount of development that's happening on HDZero versus OpenTX, funny enough. And it is a problem for all of the open sources there, that manufacturers can release a radio with a custom fork, but then make the official project look bad when no part of it works properly. Because what will happen here with this is, if we look at this, what will happen is people will go, well, I can't upgrade the Express LRS module. So they'll go in the Express LRS group and go, well, why can't I upgrade my module with your software? And then they'll go to OpenTX and say, I can't upgrade to 2.7. Why can't I upgrade to 2.7? They will go to the open source projects and not the manufacturer, because they'll sit there and go, oh, open source. Well, so why haven't you guys done this? Why haven't you guys fixed this? And this is the problem with these things happening. It does cause a lot of problems. It really does. No, it's not only open source. It happens in many things. It does. But you can see a fundamental difference with how some manufacturers work with the open source devs and other manufacturers do. I don't know how I feel about that radio. What was the pricing again? Pricing is $89. What's the price of the Zorro? Officially. Let's have a look in the US. $99, $10 more for the Zorro. And you got to buy batteries. But still, that is a fundamental difference. Fundamental difference. $10. 75. So is it £75? £75 in the UK. Is it GMI for the Pro version? Is it? And how much is the Zorro in the UK? You know, the Zorro's a very different radio. Unmanned aerial tech. Out of stock unmanned aerial tech. Okay, so that's it on that. 80 quid, yeah. Okay, so let me get down to some questions here before we move on. NZL Sub-Zero I2C application. We have an FC with no barrow, but it does have SDL, SCL, okay. I'll be connecting to a GPS with compass and then add a barrow later. Any trick for this? Okay, the only thing you need to really be careful with on I2C is the data lines. It's not very fault tolerant at all. Keep the wiring as short as you can and away from anything else. Try to mount it in a clear area away from anything. That would be my advice. Other than that, you should be fine. But it's the big problem with I2C is it doesn't have very good fault tolerance at all. That's the big issue with it. Beta FPV have made 4 versions of the TX in 6 months. Oh my god, slow down, we love you. Yeah, look, that tells you everything. You know, I actually really think this is a good radio, but the gimbals are playing up on it. This is the version 1, and I'm getting the problems with the gimbals, so I've just stopped using it. I even stopped flying it on the Whoop. I really do like it, though, and actually, I might be nicking the stick ends off this to go on something else. I'm not telling you what, but I might be nicking them to go on something else. What are CAN buses usually used for in the FPV hobby? Not so much in FPV. CAN bus has started to make a bigger impact in the fixed wing and larger multi-rotor sector. And what we're doing in that side of things is moving a lot of things like GPS, external barrow. Take this, another one, CAN bus and other devices over to CAN bus for a couple of reasons. A, CAN bus is very, very good at fault tolerance. And B, it can be daisy chained much better. So what you could actually do is set up a network on your hardware rather than having your GPS on a UART, your compass on this, or your thing on that, or your thing on, CAN allows you to put everything on one. Now, there are some really nice devices. I can't remember if it's Maytech or MRO make a CAN node that allow you to put like I2C devices and other stuff onto that node and then send that over CAN bus. That's very cool as well. There hasn't been a big use case for CAN bus in FPV, and there probably won't, because we traditionally on FPV have everything on our flight controllers. About the only thing we do add is a GPS over UART. And there's no major benefit today swapping UART for CAN bus because it's one device. So I hope that answers that question. Ryan, the HDZero pit mic is raw audio. I'm impressed. I like a lot. I only put the video on 920x440 timeline and exported it. It's a nice feature. I don't know if I'd buy it just for this. It's handy for me. That's what I will say, Ryan. For someone who does what I do, it's very handy. But I can do that with an audio recorder, which I've got. But yeah, it's a nice feature. I'm not shocked that we can't hear the fan so much, actually, because it's outdoors. That's cool. Mambo or Tango 2? Any ideas when they'll be back in stock? Falfatry. Okay, the question actually isn't the radio. The question is the radio system you want, first of all. The Mambo is very, very good. I've not tried the Tango too much. I have a Mambo myself. Maybe for not much longer. The Mambo is very, very good. But depending on if you want Crossfire or not, you're going to have to buy a module. And that is the fundamental problem with that. And this is going to lead us really nicely into TBS. So, God, it's like you guys create a transition for me. Now, I've put a bit of a controversial headline. Is TBS falling behind? And the reason I say that, and it's probably going to upset some people, is we are not really seeing any new products from them, but we're not seeing bugs and issues fixed, and we're not seeing things promised like support in HDZero for the Mambo and the other radios. Now, before I go any further, I know that there has been some effect on their devs as a result of the situation in the other part of the world. And that is out of their control. We all understand that that's affected many, many people, and anyone involved over there, anyone who's over there, we support you. We wish you all of the best. So we know there has been some comments around that. I don't want to name the place because it'll affect the analytics and stuff like that. But a lot of this is happening before that. You know, we have no updates on this. We've just had HDZero release an update. Finally. Not HDZero, sorry, OpenTX and HDZero. We've had both in the last week. You know, so look, if we hop over, we've got a new version of HDZero, which I've just been updating to today. So we've got HDZero Black Pearl 2.7. where there still is no support for the Mambo. And we've had an OpenTX update, which is 2.3.15, which again still does not have support for the Mambo either. Now, this is not their fault. This is not that community's fault. But what's interesting is how many radios have released with official HDZero support since this was promised? Just take the Mambo, okay? Since the Mambo launched, how many brand new radios have released with full HDZero support? I know there's some complications around crossfire and stuff like that, but still, how many has there been? We've got the Zorro, we've got the new T16 Mark II, there's loads of stuff. So, we've got those things, but it's not just that. There are posts every day on groups I'm on of people having problems with Agent X, Agent M bricking crossfire devices, people having to rebind all of the time. There is a number of things that are sort of building, that are beginning to erode that reputation TBS have for making good products. And I think they do make good products for the most part. But it's really starting to pee people off. And it's going to be interesting because I don't know how they're going to get out of this. They've got a lot of work to do. You know, right now, they've got to get these radios over to that software. They don't have to do it, but they've said they're going to do it. They've got to fix this crossfire thing. They've talked about LoRa on Tracer. And they're getting their asses kicked everywhere by Express LRS, as everyone is. And it's not unique to TBS, but Express LRS is literally taking over everything. And that is a real problem for them. And if they're not careful, if they don't get on top of this stuff now, people will switch and they won't go back. It's that simple. Once people switch, it's going to be very hard to get them back. And there will always be people who like TBS products. I like TBS products. I think this is a fantastic radio. But I'm about to set this up from scratch because I've completely updated it and reset it. I'd love to be able to transfer my models over from this, and I can't do it because it's not on HDZero easily. There are issues with transferring stuff between radios. This isn't the best quality radio in the world. It's okay, but it's not perfect by any means. You know, so I do think they are in a critical period. And you are starting to see some frustration. I'll come on to Failsafe's comment in a minute. Around what is happening because of Express LRS. We've seen Trappy in the past mention some stuff. This week, there's been some interesting comments from Ivan at Orca, which, I'll be honest, I felt It's just not the right way of doing it. It was brought up again about some releases this week. Orca have something new coming this week, apparently. I think it's that flight controller they hinted at with built-in Ghost. So we're not really talking about anything revolutionary here. It'll be nice for those who want it. I think that's all very good, but I wouldn't mind checking it out, that's for sure. I still haven't fully had time to play with Ghost. But the reality is, Express LRS is really, really taking over. And you've seen Trappy's response in the past, and we had it this week. A user asked Ivan about, is it going to have built-in Express LRS? And rather than say something politically correct, which is the right thing to do, he just made a bit of a dig at the project, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And it could be just the way we're reading it. I can't remember the comment exactly. Let me find it on Facebook. And I do think Orca makes some really, really nice products. They really do, especially those goggles. I got to play with them again. Hello, Peppermint. But Orca put out he put out like a post saying something is coming. Where is it? Let's have a look here. See if I can find it. I thought, or he might have put it somewhere. He's put a post up somewhere. They've put a post up somewhere. I'm not sure where it was. And it was just really, you know, I wish I could find the post because I'd like to put the context on it. I don't have a TX12. I don't, I'm afraid. I have a T16S. I can put next to it. If that helps. I can't remember where it was posted, but it was posted. And what the response should have been was, we love what they're doing. We like what they're doing over there. However, we don't feel that suits our business model, and we have a great partner in Immersion RC. And as a result, we're really happy with that and how that's developing. And we think we've got a product that can compete with the best that's out there. That's what the response should have been. That's simple. Really nice and straightforward. Not a dig at the project or, you don't understand the rules or you don't understand this and that. Now, there is no question Ghost has some real interesting benefits. You know, it doesn't need to be 500 hertz. I noticed, did someone just say it needs to be 500 hertz? It doesn't necessarily need to be, because Ghost is, the packet time is quicker on Ghost anyway. The packet time, there's a lot of looking in the way FLRC behaves, and I was reading up about it this week on the Express RS guys, and they're working on it right now, and there are benefits to it, at very short range. There are benefits to it at very short range over LoRa. It's able to get the packet out the door quicker. So 333 hertz Express LRS, Ghost is very, very close. Can even be quicker than 500 hertz LoRa. So that it doesn't necessarily need that extra speed. But it is interesting when you see these things in these comments. But with regards to TBS, you know, I think they need to catch up and quick, and they need to get on top of their software problems. They have to. There are users really getting fed up. And I was just reading down the comments just here. Brandon Lewis, I love my Tango 2, but after update hell over the last summer, this stuff's working now. I won't be updating anything. I've been using Slim Pro Express RS on the Tango 2 for all my new stuff now. Exactly. And this is the problem. These are the comments. These are the comments that I'm seeing on more and more groups. John Copy, best thing that Crossfire is missing out on right now is not being baked into Betaflight as an SPI receiver option. Micro World would move forward with it just as effective. Makes sense. Exactly. They must offer 500 hertz support, otherwise go down satellite. I don't think it needs 500 hertz. Steve Mann, hello, Steve. How are you? So yeah, you know, failsafe. I think Trappy has switched to Express RS. If you watched the latest TBS live stream, why? What did he say? And I missed that. I haven't watched one. What did he say in that? Trappy will rage again. Look, I can sit here as an armchair expert, and I'm going to put this out there as well. It's easy for me to sit here as an armchair expert and say, you need to do better. But what I am in the game of is a bit of prediction as well. And looking at what I'm seeing on forums, what I'm seeing on Facebook groups, what I'm seeing in Discords, people are getting fed up of the problems happening time and time again. And now there is a viable alternative that is cheap. And that is the real problem they face. So that's why I think they're falling behind. We've had 2 new versions of software from the handset manufacturers. Oh, shit. Wow. Steve, send me an email, mate. Tango 2 Sim says here. He showed a radio with a Beta FPV Express RS module on the back. Did he? Wow. That's funny. So he's clearly now looking at what they're doing. That's crazy. That is crazy. Crossfire supports Mavic Path 2. Yeah, okay, look, don't get me wrong. There is a market for Crossfire. I'm not saying it's going away overnight. I'm not saying it's disappearing. But when you start having people who are constantly having problems when they update, then it's not a good situation. They need to get on top of that stuff. So, that is it on that side of things. Now, it's probably time for me to talk a little bit about Skyzone. Now, I put a video out on this, and before I go into this, actually, guys, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watching so far. If you do have any questions, put them in. Good evening, David Owens. How are you, my friend? Please give us a like if you are watching as well. So, I'm not going to take too much time on this because I've done it in a video. The video tells you everything you need to know. I got this wrong. This is really, really simple. I fucked up here. That's the easiest way for me to put this. No in between, no messing about, no hiding, no going but this, but that. The very straightforward matter of fact is I fucked up and didn't do enough research, enough testing, and enough effort into what I was doing on that specific issue. And I had convinced myself beyond rational doubt that what I was seeing was not right. And there are mitigations for that. There are reasons I did that, but that doesn't change the fact that I should not have put out a video that said, I think my goggles are faulty. I'm blaming Skyzone. And I will fully apologize for that again, which I have to Skyzone in that video. I have sent Daniel some messages, and there are many things I can say on this, but the real simple reality is there is nothing wrong with those Skyzone goggles. Now, the amazing Peppermint, who is in the chat here, I got to see him the other day. I popped around to see him. I didn't get a lot of time. Sorry, mate. It was a bit of a flashing, and I got to say a massive thank you to Peppermint, because I basically doorstepped him, borrowed his goggles, had a chat, and then left. And asked him to send me some files. And let me just allow that show. There we go. And Peppermint allowed me, because he has HDO2s, he has Orcas. So we had all 3 goggles next to each other. And the very simple reality here is I have been flying digital so much, I have forgotten how bad analog was, but not that. At the same time, I've upgraded all of my analog craft to very high TVL cameras. And then further to that, I was using an LCD monitor, which appears to have very good deinterlacing as my baseline. So what I'd ended up doing is talking myself into a problem. Then I spoke about it on 2 live streams and put a few posts around, and a couple of good people just went, whoa, that's weird. I'm not seeing that. You know, Bruce had mentioned it. It's not Bruce's fault. I'm not saying that. I just mean Bruce was like... So everything led me to a path of this being a problem, and I was wrong. There is nothing wrong with those goggles. I put all 3 on at the same point in the same place, and I was like, I think the exact words I used to Peppermint, because he addressed this when I was here, and I think I went, oh, fuck, I've got this wrong. I think it was something along those lines, along that. But you just, at times, back myself into a corner, and that's what I did. And the mistake I made here wasn't what I did with thinking I had a problem. The mistake here was making a video shouting about it. And that was the problem. So, the very basics are, from a fundamental point of view, there is no more jitter, no more issues with the Skyzone 04Xs than there is the HDO2s or the Orca FPV pilots. Okay? It does manifest itself ever so slightly differently. When you look at it, there's a bit more smoothing, I think, or less sharpness in the other 2 sets compared to the Skyzones, but I never messed with the sharpness settings. Maybe a bit of screen door effect on the Skyzones that makes it a little bit worse, but I'm talking marginal things here. So from a live image point of view, it's analog, it's crap on all of them. The DVR jitter is there on the thing as well. The DVR jitter is there on the other 60 frames a second DVR. And all of this stems from Interlaced having to create frames. And the problem at the 60 frames per second is they're having to create 2 frames, not 1. And that's the bit to get your head around. And I didn't really cover that in the video, actually. I didn't talk about that bit. That bit is very, very complex, because the thing to remember is, okay, if we just stick with NTSC a minute. So the camera is interlaced at 30 frames a second, which is 60 fields a second, alternative lines. One alternative line, another alternative lines from 2 different points in time. What our goggles are having to do is sandwich them together, which you will get then some shadowing. You will get like lines effect. I described it all in the video. And there's some other things you get as well, like twittering and things like that. But when you combine them, you're then only creating a single frame, which reduces it to 30 frames a second. But these DVRs are recording in 60, not 30. So they have to then create a middle frame between the next 2 fields, because there is nothing there. So what they either have to do is take the 2 fields and mash them together, or you take half a field and interpolate that into a frame by either reducing the vertical resolution by 50%, so you basically take out the gap of every other line and then stretch the image, or you look ahead, look behind, mix up the data. It gets extremely complicated, but they are having to do some processing. But the jumping is the way the DVR is having to layer the image, because it's the 2 different lines alternating. Now, the Orcas do it slightly different, and there isn't to say they can't adjust it. But the real simple point is this. Both systems basically look garbage when slowed down, unless you change the frame rate to 30 frames a second. And that's the problem. So the issue here on the recording side is the 60 frames as data, because you've got one field every 1/60th of a second or 17 milliseconds. You either have to create that into a frame by varying methods, or you take two fields and create a frame, but then you're missing a frame because you're down to 30 then, if that makes sense. So it all gets very complicated, very messy, and there's a great video on this by Computer File, I think it is, and he literally just sits here and said, look, this is really, really hard to solve. This is really, really hard to fix. There's no simple solution here. Now, there are much better ways of doing it than we're doing in FPV, but the problem is they will all add latency. And that is where the problems then arise. We can do many things many different ways. We can do it so we can make all of that go away, but you would be adding, you know, maybe upwards of 30 milliseconds of latency. It depends on how many frames or fields you want to hold back. You know, one of the best methods is actually holding back a field. So what you do then, you have the last field, which is line A, the next field, which is line B, and the next field, which is line... let's think of fields, not lines, okay? So field 1 is A, field 2 is B, field 3 is A. If you hold it back a field and then interpolate field A and C together, you can then create a frame from that with field B. But you're having to delay it 16.7 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds in PAL to be able to do that on top of the delay of the system already. So this is all extremely complex. And the problem is, I know all of this. I've had to just remind myself all of this, but I do know all of this, having spent years working on AV systems, but I just buried it at the back of my head. Now, I haven't heard back from Skyzone. I think I have probably royally picked them off, I'll be honest, and I'm disappointed in myself more than anything. I'm honestly, John Cubby, I'm honestly glad you brought it up and ended up being wrong. Yeah, and I did. And look, I want to say a big thank you to Skyzone, because they didn't come at me and go, what are you talking about, you idiot? They came at me going, just explain a lot more. And then they went back to their developers and come back and said, no, this is this. And also, we've look at this and then look at that. But they were like, we really want to resolve this with you. We really want to understand what you're saying, because they said you're seeing it in the live feed and we were discussing it. And there's some things they've told me which I don't want to share, but I think there's some really interesting stuff around the corner, even for these goggles as well. There's a hint for you. There is, development is not over. That I will tell you. But they were really good. They were really good. I think I caused them a few problems. I've done that to a few companies now. They did say, we're starting to get a lot of emails on this since you've put your video out, so we really want to resolve this with you. And I was like, okay, brilliant. But I'll be honest, I don't think I've handled it very well either. I think because I was so convinced it was a problem, I was all out. I'm not happy with this. I need it fixed. Rather than going, guys, tell me what's going on here, like I normally do. I normally handle these things very, very different. I would normally work with companies to resolve issues. I have with DJI. I've done it with many, many companies. You know, I'd often go, look, I've seen this. What's your thoughts? What can we do about this? Is there anything around that? But I sort of went at this a bit harder than I usually would. Probably because I've been used to having to go harder at DJI, and I think I probably went too hard at Skyzone. Rather than going, guys, look, can we work on this? I went straight at them. I don't want these anymore. You need to fix them or get rid of them. And I was wrong. I got that completely wrong. It's not usual for me. It's part of my bad week, let's just say. Have racers got time to notice? Interesting question, Peppermint. I noticed with the goggles too, however, I thought it was normal for analog. And that is it. It is normal for analog. I think it's worse on OLED as well. For a static image like OSD text, you show a field AC should be identical. The jumping is a problem, but it might be with the receiver, not the goggles. It's the goggle, but it's happening even on the Orcas. So it's not specific to Skyzone. It's even happening on the Orcas. And on the Orcas, it's very noticeable, the OSD jumps. I've noticed it when compared to my Cobra X on my son's E-Machine 800 goggles. E-Machine image is rock solid unlike the Cobra X. However, E-Machines have more latency and handle interlacing at a cost. Exactly. And that's the problem here. You can fix all of this, but it comes at a cost. You're having to do something with that image to deinterlace, to add filtering, to prevent the twittering. One option, and I'd be interested, GMI, does the EV800s look not as crisp? Because what often is a way of resolving this is removing detail. It really is a big problem with detail. I got a bonus recently and it was tempted to get some 04Xs. I was thinking about waiting, but if I know... So what I've been told, and again, I can't go into it because they haven't told me not to share it, but I'm not going to share something they haven't done. But what I'll say is, from the comments I've had, it's not over. That's for sure. Yeah, we tried it with the Fusion. It's on all OLED screen. Yeah, and the OLEDs may be playing into this with high refresh rates. Because remember, we don't know what the refresh rate of the OLED is neither on these. I would have thought it's 60 Hertz. I would think they're 60 Hertz. If there was 30, we probably wouldn't see a lot of this. A lot of this, I think, could even be improved if you reduce the refresh rate of the OLEDs. What would be really nice on this, and this is something I'm going to message them on tomorrow, is they can produce a 30 frames a second DVR firmware. I think that should be in a setting. So give the user the option 60 or 30. Give it to them straight. But also maybe the option to change the refresh rate on the panels or add interlacing. Deinterlacing options. Add that in as a setting. So if you're happy with the latency that brings, you can get the improved image quality. That would be cool as well. That would be very cool. How could goggles without HDMI input use HDZero? They can't, unfortunately. Lower resolution and a weaker, See, a lot of the time, to get rid of the interlacing issues, the simple answer is to reduce vertical resolution. Because that twittering effect happens as the vertical resolution heads towards the horizontal resolution of the image. Because if you think about a traditional interlaced image, the vertical resolution should be about 50% of what it is full. And if you have high TVL cameras, you're going to have more vertical resolution, which gets it more towards that horizontal resolution, and then twittering becomes a thing. It is, it is harder to see when in motion, but what I have noticed is everything gets very messy. The twittering is definitely harder in motion. Yes, it's definitely harder to see in motion. But I have had some images where I think, oh, this is bad. Even on the T-Rex, I've thought, this isn't particularly great. But I'll be honest, guys, you forget how bad analog is. I'll be honest. They're all sick of Fat Shark 30 frames a second. Yeah, the HDO DVR looks great at 30 frames a second. The problem with 60 is what we need here is progressive cameras and progressive options on the goggles. That's really the solution here, is everything progressive. That's the simple solution. And look, we've got digital cameras. There's no reason they can't read out progressively. It's just analog video isn't. Basically, yeah. Analog, PAL and NTC are all PAL and NTC are all interlaced standards. That's the problem. The way PAL and NTC in themselves are interlaced standards. Progressive came with 480p when that was released. Now, you used to get progressive scan TVs, but don't confuse that with other things. But yeah, basically, that standard is interlaced. S-Video, or CVBS is interlaced. Unfortunately, that's just the system. Not a lot we can do about that one. There is a lot that could be done with analog. Bruce has often said this, analog HD, but not just analog HD. There's a lot that could be done with analog. And look, there are goggles where it looks better than it does on those. Yeah, digital looks so much better. And I'll tell you this, anyone who says HDZero doesn't look much better than digital, analog, I can tell you no, it does. And I can tell you it is fundamentally better. Not just image quality, but even the way that image is delivered. The progressive nature that image is delivered. It's funny. People always go, oh, well, that DVR footage doesn't look much better. It's not just about the resolution. It's not just about the cameras or the image quality. It's about everything. Absolutely everything. That's not just HDZero, that's DJI. Digital brings a lot of differences, a lot of benefits. And I am going to be talking about this in a video. Option cards for HD. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it does. John Kirby is right. HDZero looks very good on the 04Xs. It really, really does. It looks good in the Scout HDs as well. It really does. It does look very, very good. But it's even when you go, oh, well, that don't look much better than analog. It does when you take a lot of that other stuff out. It really does. I tell you what I haven't figured out yet. I'll get the one if it was available in the USA. I was flying my Freestyle VTX today. I'm trying to get the video on that finished. Scout HD. It does look really good on the Scout HDs. It does look really, really good on the Scouts. Loud and clear, get me a beer. Hello, Ram. How are you? How are you, my friend? So, that was the Skyzone debacle. I'm not going to say any more on it. I've done the correction. That's how I handle things. I don't mess around. If I get it wrong, I get it wrong. Yeah, and that is, and we need to go back to the BBC tutorial cathode ray tube. Yeah, and that's the funny thing. Interlaced behavior was absolutely masked in analog TV, in cathode ray tubes. Because for those who don't fully understand how a cathode ray tube TV works, you have an electron gun that fires electrons at the, let me just find my mouse pointer, go. Electrons at a mask, or shadow mask, the official term is, which is just a plate full of holes, because... And then that would light up the phosphorus, and the phosphorus would light up. And the easiest way to think about it is a bit like those glow-in-the-dark things your kids had, if you know what I mean. They glow and then they fade, and that's how those tellies worked. But what you actually had then was a very natural ability for it to bleed over between pixels. So integrated it due to its persistence. Yeah, and if you imagine you fired every other line and then the next line, but there was some natural bleed over in that as well. So that helped smooth the very difficult edges that you get on digital displays, because a progressive display is expecting a full frame. But not only that, even if you write a progressive display at every other pixel line, right, that is a harsh stop, because there's no bleed over in very good LCD and OLED displays between the next two pixels. They've made them so good, and you can call it screen door effect. At times you can see the gaps between the pixels, but it makes those edges very, very sharp, and there's no natural bleed over there. And but it's a hugely complex subject. Okay. XJet died. Bruce, I haven't heard he's died, but he didn't reply to my email either. I owe Bruce a big thank you as well. When DJI released the Mini 3? We believe it's the end of the month, don't we? Okay, should we cover a bit of DJI news? Right, there's some pictures circulating today. They're complete nonsense. Don't fall for them. You'll see this FPV Mini. That isn't the FPV Mini. If you've seen these pictures, I'm not going to even find them. I'm not going to even show them. Complete waste of time. They're not leaks. They're bloody old marketing materials. Okay, as for the DJI news, we don't know. There's nothing confirmed. If they were going to release the Mini 3, we're expecting it in the next week or so, but I would guess they might put something out Monday and Tuesday ready for the launch. As for FPV Vision Mini or 3, there's still no news. There's no more news on Goggles V3. There's no more news on any of that. It's all gone quiet now. We're probably a bit off any new goggles yet because we haven't seen any proper leaks. You know, you've got to have, there's 3 or 4 stages to the leaks, okay? So stage 1 is it's left on the desk in a creator's studio when he's filming another video. Stage 2 is close-up images with fingernails and stuff like that showing the product. Stage 3 is Argos in the UK or Best Buy listing it on their website before it's available, or even selling one to a customer. So there's multiple stages of leaks here we haven't had yet. And in between them, there can be random other leaks as well. Mini 3 controller, something going on. I don't know. The Mini 3 controller. So there's talk about the Mini 3 having 2 remotes. RCN1 as one remote, or this another version of the RC Pro. FCC tags. Is there something today on FCC? Is there? Have I missed this? Mini 3 controller equals something going on. Shipping with the RCN1 for the basic model makes complete sense. Have I seen it? Have we missed something today on this? Or the last 24 hours? Perhaps I've full spec leak a couple of days ago, but son just got a job in Argos. You know, we've got the picture of the bloody ugly thing, but there's not a lot more than that at the moment. We're just going to have to wait and see. You know, the Mini 3, interesting. Delayed. Has there been something today to say it's delayed? Wait there. Mini 3 Pro is rumoured to launch on May 10th, though. DJI is not confirmed. May 10th. Okay, that's a little bit of a delay. There's a lot going on over there at the moment. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not convinced it's going to sell well at the rumoured price of $829. That's for sure. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Okay. The next thing I was just quickly going to talk about is just these updates for HDZero and OpenTX, because they're quite interesting if you guys haven't seen them. We've had 2 big updates this week. So we've got the release Black Pearl for HDZero. We've got the Black Pearl Vision 2.7, which I've just updated this to. I was having a look. Lots of stuff in here. Lots and lots of good stuff. And we've also had the release of OpenTX 2.3.14. Now, what's really interesting is if you look at these, right, obviously, because these are open source projects, is the amount of development on these projects over the last 6 to 12 months. Now, you can only go on one period of 1 month here for this, right? So on the Pulse, for OpenTX, they've had 5 merge pull requests, closed 99 issues, and 1 open pull request and 8 new issues. Whereas if we look on HDZero, we've had 46, so 5 versus 46, less closed issues and more new issues. But what's really interesting is when you just look at the contributions chart. So if you look at OpenTX, first of all, you can see, look, it's been going down and down and down, really, since 2019, 2020. It's been going down massively for the last sort of 2 years. Whereas on the alternate side, HDZero has been constant. You know, look, it's around the same time it started, because remember, it's based off OpenTX. So this first bit here is the same, because it's the same software. But then just look at the difference in development on HDZero right now compared to OpenTX. Very interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. That's the commits. That's the improvements. You know, you can say additions, and then additions. Look at that. See, it's very little there. Let's just have a look at that. Deletions, commits. Commits is the best one to look at. But it's very, very interesting, just the difference between the two projects. And really, OpenTX is dying. I'm sorry, but it's dying. It is going to get killed by HDZero. Why didn't OpenTX activate touchscreen for TX16? There's so much politics around OpenTX now. There really is. And if you look at, many of the developers are very similar. But if you look down the commit list and you start looking at who's developed when, you then start to see the changes. But it's a massive difference. A massive, massive difference. But OpenTX is going to get, it'll never vanish, don't get me wrong. But just like Clean Flight, Base Flight, all of these things come to an end when the next fork, the next version is created and moves forward. And it's happening again with OpenTX. Don't get me wrong, they're making changes, they're making improvements. But it's minimal now. It really, really is. But I thought it's an interesting subject. It is interesting when you look at it. It really is. Obviously, FR Sky have been using it heavily in the past, but they've moved over to their new OS now as well. And I believe that's part of the reason we don't see the development anymore on it. You know, that's been part of the problem. But there's no question. It's slowing. Now, I've just installed the new version on this. Let's just go to the overhead. Hey, it's still on. Tonight, this is a fresh build. Brand new fresh build. I need to oh God, I need to calibrate everything again because it's all gone. Now, I've just installed that Lua script that JB was talking about, FM2M. It's this one here. If you haven't seen it, this guy's got FM2M Toolbox 0.74. I was using this today for the first time. I really like this. I've bought it. I've sent him $10. Thank you from me for buying me a coffee. I really like this. I really, really do. And I've just installed that today. And I haven't set it up properly yet because I'm going to transfer some radios over on this. Forgot I got the touchscreen on this now as well, which makes it really, really nice. And, what's really nice about this script is, if we go to FM Toolbox, wait for it to open up. Not sure why it does that. But you can now see the script, so we need to set... the protocol, we need to Where's the settings on this? Return. No. How do I get to the protocol on this one? I've been using it on a different radio. How'd you get to the menu? Does anyone know? That's not what I want to do. Get off. How do I get to the menu via this radio? It's interesting. It takes you out of it when you do it. On my other radio, it shows it. Lua script. On my other radio, protocol not set. How do we get into the protocol? Ah, it's in the middle. This is a different version on than the radio I've been using it on today. So you've got the protocol, so we need to turn the protocol on. D8, D16, Crossfire, Ghost. We'll use Express LRS on this one. Cool, we'll go back. Yeah, that all looks fine. So what we do is scroll through the menus in the screen in the middle. Supported radio, cool, that makes sense. Get off that one. Sorry, you. I haven't used it on this radio at all. So how was I scrolling between them? Was it just page? Ah, yeah. So your page scrolls through the different settings in the middle. Don't know how easy that is for you guys to see. I think it's just more up to date. That's the big reason. So what you've got is the config. So the app will show you all sorts of stuff, which is really nice. So, right, I haven't got radio set up on this. So let me show you what this will show, actually, before we do this. So let me come out of it. This has been completely wiped from blank. We need to create a new RIT. Create a model. Create a blank model. Model 13. Model settings. Yes, yes, yes. Get out. Okay, so model 13 will... I need to turn the beeps off. We want external RF. We want Crossfire, because we've got an Express LRS module on the back, which is pre-bound to some aircraft that I've got, so that will be fine. Okay, let's go across, let's go across, let's go across. That's all fine. Page then. Yeah, that all looks fine. We haven't got a mode. I'll be all right. I don't need a mode. It shouldn't harm. Okay, so if this is now right, it should connect to my craft once. Actually, it should connect to this. So let me just turn this on. Is that going to play ball, or does that not going to play ball? Oh, this was one of those receivers that needed a lipo. This is a flight controller that needs a lipo to power it up. How frustrating is that? Don't you hate flight controllers that do that? I have some... It's the Speedy Bee, that is, just to show you guys. That's that one there, which now means it's going to power up the Vista. And I don't want it to power up the Vista because... Oh, I got an antenna on it. It'll be fine. Okay. There. Okay. Good. Okay, so it's bound, it's connected. Perfect. So if we just page through, I just want to check if I'm getting telemetry. Discover new sensors. There we go. We're getting... Oh, I need to turn that off. I'm not getting a lot. I'm not getting the voltage. Oh, here they come. Yep, here they come. Cool. Okay. So, all the sensors are done. Right. Let's get this bloody beeping sorted out first of all. How do you turn the beep off? Thought it was under you. It's got to be you somewhere. Oh. There. Got it. Sorted. Okay, so we've got that receiver's connected and we're getting telemetry. So what we can now do is go back into this Lua script. So if we go into system again, into FM toolbox, all being well, if we've got connection on there, we will page through on the config. Let's just check that we've got that one. Protocol will now go to Express LRS. No, not Crossfire. There we go. Good. Now, so this script now has connected via the Express RS. You can see we've got the hertz rate, we've got the voltage, we've got the cell voltage or the pack voltage up here. That one's down to 3.5 volt. Shows us the pack voltage, tells us what's going on with the aircraft. We've got the option for VTX table. Tells us the radio. So the nice thing about this script is it has a lot of info all here already. Quality, TX power, RF mode, percentage left, used. It has all of that info on the screen. And it's just a really nice little script. It really, really is a nice little script. Now, it's not free. You need to make a donation to be able to get all of it. But the nice thing is, it's just a nice, easy way of being able to get access to info really quickly on these radios. And it just, you know, it gives you everything in one place. And it's a really nice one for FPV. Let me just adjust the focus on that camera. There you go. There you go. You can see it a bit better now. I'm going to put the Beta FPV underneath. There you go. That makes life a bit better, doesn't it? So, that's the first time I've set it up on this. And the nice thing is then you can obviously attach it to the telemetry button if you want to do that. So for instance, if we come out, we're in this model. So let's just come out completely. So we'll go back into the model settings. If we go back to the telemetry, we don't want that one, special function. Back to the telemetry. Scroll down. Telemetry screens. Where's the telemetry screens option? Right there. Is it well set up? How set up flight modes, inputs, strip mixes, outputs, curves. Might be screens, might be further along. Where's screens? Oh, right there. On this one, it might be different, is it? Yeah. So, set up widgets. No, we don't want that one. Go back. No, we don't want that one. I want to assign it. I don't want to set up a widget. It's been a while since I've done it on a full-size radio. Add a main view. No. No. I haven't done it on a full-size radio. Where do we have the bloody... I like that. Yep, that's good. I can't remember. I can't remember. Oh, am I getting spammed again? Where'd you add on this radio? Because it's different on the radio I got screens on that. Where's the bloody screens option on this radio? I can't remember. Right there. Go to display tab. Oh, yeah, display tab. Where's the display? In the system settings. Display tab should be under the model settings. So we should have a display one under here. But is it under system? I always thought there was a display. Running toolbox to background telemetry script on black and white. No. Standalone radio. Where do we add it? I'm just reading their instructions on the colours. I haven't done it on the colours, one. There are a couple of features you don't get on the free version. So let me just open it back up again. So if I go, this is the beta version as well I'm running here. So if we go to system and go on the toolbox. So this version has some extras, okay? So this version, you have VTX, which shows you a nice, easy VTX table and frequency chart, which you only get with the Pro version. So you can scroll through the channels, and it tells you the channel, the frequency, and all of that, which is very handy. And it gives you the option of controlling the VTX that way as well. You've got stick commands. So they show you all of the stick command list. You get that in the Pro version as well. Which is nice. Very handy just to have in the radios. You get errors from Betaflight. So it'll show you what errors you're getting from the flight controller. And you get some additional screens as well. So, and the other one doesn't have some stuff up. You don't get all of the functionality between the free and the paid. There are some differences between them. Not everything is the same. What I don't understand is why on color, the model button. Wait a minute. I'm just trying to understand how to install color running in standalone mode, running on black and white LCD radios. Oh. Can you not do it on colors then? On the black and white radios, you can assign it to the telemetry button. You just press the telemetry button and it comes up. Running toolbox in background mode, telemetry script on black and white LCD radios. Running toolbox in standalone mode. Yeah, we know how to do that. Oh, so it doesn't look like on the color radios you can assign it to that. Oh, there's quick access on the black and white radios. That's why it's different. Because on the black and white radios, is that on the Mambo? Let me just have a look. On the black and white radios. Yes. Menu, page. Let me just check. Yes. you have a display screen. Okay, this one, which you can assign it to, and it will work from there. That's where I'm going wrong, which you don't have on the color radios. Now, I haven't got it set up on this one. It was a different radio I was doing it on. Whereas on the color radios, it's obviously you can't set it on the telemetry button. It's a bit frustrating. But it's a really nice app. $10, I think it's worth it. I'll be honest with you. I think it has some nice features because obviously you've got the Express LRS app which allows you to do that on the Lua script. Well, Vista's getting very hot. You've got all of the other apps that I'm going to have to kill all of these now because they're just annoying. So wait a minute. Set up widgets. So let's go there, select a widget. Can we select Lua? I've not actually done this on the C16. No. No. No, so on the telemetry on the color radios, it looks like you have to run it from the system screen. So you just go into the system screen. Get out. Sorry. You go into the system screen, and then the toolbox. Oh, I pressed the wrong one. There you go. And it opens straight away. Yeah, create a new page on a full screen widget. That's an interesting thought. Should we try that? I'm intrigued now. So, back, telemetry. Full screen widget. Okay, we've got a full screen on page 1. Set up widget. Select widget. But I can't see any Lua scripts. You've got libGUI. What's that? No. Move widget. Select widget. Doesn't look like you can. Unless something I don't know. That's on a full screen. But I'm not showing it. Gauge, outputs, text, timer, value, battery, analog, counter, event, demo, ghost, solar edge, timer. Yeah, I'm not seeing it there. That's something I've not done before. I'm just going to turn that VTX off before it sets itself on fire. Widget scripts. Here we go. Update call. 8 widgets per screen, depending on the size of each. Widget scripts are available as a color screen FSR radio master number T16. Most of the time, widget scripts are known as some zone either at the top, bottom, but widget scripts on the main views can also be shown in full screen mode. They take over the entire area. Here receiving key events, radios, touchscreen, so can be entered widget. Okay, so apparently it's doable. They call it a widget script. Open lowering widget is what I'm trying to find, but it doesn't look like I can. It's a separate script then, by the look of it. So widget scripts are something different from the look of it. They are labeled something different. And it is FFM2M widget. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there might be a widget pack for it. Oh, no. He's got a widget pack, which is interesting, which is a separate pack again. So if we go on the website. So what you got is the main dashboard, config alerts. You've got all sorts of additional info on it. Supported on a lot of radios as well, this script. You can donate. You can go to his downloads page and you get the free version. So there's an enhanced version of the HDZero widgets. Those widgets are compatible with HDZero only. So what's the widget pack? So the widget pack is something different. So you have to run the app on these radios from the tool screen, but you can also install the widget app if you wish. So we can download that. Close. Extract. We'll do that. We'll open this. Go to downloads. Widget pack. So, 1 second. Let's plug the radio in USB and see what it does. Before we finish this one up, I'm intrigued now. I'm running it on a black and white radio, so it behaves differently. Okay, so we want to open up another window. We'll go to the SD card. Boom. Ah, there's a widgets, look. We'll just copy them over a minute. Okay. Okay, so let's try that again. Set up a widget. Remove widget. Select widget. Let me just reboot the radio and just see if it shows then. See you later, Floor. I will stay safe, mate. I'm only trying this before I finish this up. Well, go away. Get out. If it doesn't show it, I give up. I'll play with it later. No, I'm not seeing them there either. So there might be a different install. There might be a different setup for the widgets. What I didn't do was have a look at where they're meant to go. There's no instructions for them either. Frequently asked questions. Toolbox, widgets. Widget pack. Oh, that should have worked, but it's not. They do say to reboot. So that's weird. That's what I'm going to have to figure out. He does a widgets pack as well. Weird. I was trying to see if I could get it up and running. So, but it's worth a look. If you're after the Lewis script, it's what, $10. It is what it is. Do you know what I mean? So it's not bad. I found it quite interesting today. There's a couple of little changes I wouldn't mind with it. I wouldn't mind show the pack voltage in 2 decimal points, not 1. Just it rounded up a bit more than I would have liked. I'd have preferred it to round down than up, and I might send him an email and see if we can change that and stuff like that. But it's available for pretty much all of the radios. The nice... Turn the Mambo off. But it will work on all of the other stuff as well, HDZero, OpenTX. The problem with the T16 is I don't use it all of the time, so I'm not quite au fait with all of the differences and the behaviors of the way the T16 works. Now, guys, we are nearly at 2 hours. I'm going to wrap this one up. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me tonight. If you're new here, we don't usually fall apart at the end quite like this, but I wanted to see if I could get it working. But I'm going to give up and play with it tomorrow now. But that's the way these things go sometimes. I want to thank you all for spending some time with me. I will be back same time, same place next week. Again, if you have found it interesting, please do consider giving us a like before you go. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description. Coming up this week, I'm not exactly sure. There's a couple of videos that'll go live. I've got some little bits videos I've done this week. Just a little bit, a couple of little bit ones that I've put together. It's always fun playing with a radio when you're trying to get used to them. I've been using a different grey screened radio, possibly made by Radio Master. But I'll talk about that in the future. Anyway, that's it for me. Stay safe, look after yourselves. Thank you all for watching, and I will speak to you guys again a little bit later.